Clinton, as Dan was saying there, you know, we heard Carrick say that actually it's irrelevant to compare his tenure to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's. But do you think that's fair, or that's what everyone's doing right now?
No, they're trying to compare him. I don't think it's fair, because I understand what they're saying, and because he's done well as interim, and then you give him the manager's job, and
Ole did well as interim, and then
doesn't go well. But he can't. They're two different people, and the response, it's the here and now, and all you can focus about on the here and now is Michael Carrick has got Man United into the Champions League spot, and it looks like they will stay there and be playing Champions League football. And where we were talking about the football club at the start of the season, basically struggling big time under Ruben Amorim, and now getting that opportunity to play Champions League football back. I think like Man United fans feel like they've got their team and their football club back, and huge credit must go to Michael Carrick. I think he's done a brilliant job. The thing is, what you look at it, when he suffered a little bit when they lost to Leeds, and then you look, he's never really been under pressure. Then he was like, all right, you're under a bit of pressure here. You get into the Chelsea game. Don't have your recognised centre-backs, and then you're playing Mazraoui and Aiden Young Heaven, who was outstanding, to be fair, and you go and beat Chelsea. That showed his credentials, Michael Carrick, and that shows that those players are playing for him, and he's playing players in the right position. That's all it took for Ruben Amorim. You had good players at Man United, you're just playing them out of position. That's what he's gone in and told them they're good players, and he's getting a tune out of all the players. That
sounds like to me that you think, should they get Champions League football, he's the man for the job then?
No, I didn't say that because you know why? Because me personally, if I was Michael Carrick, I'd think I deserve to get it, and I think Man United should get it. But I don't know the conversations they've had, and by.
Is he a big enough name?
Well, it doesn't matter. Yeah, I understand what you're saying, big enough name, but he's a good young coach, and I think young coaches deserve opportunities. I think the job he's done at Man United, getting them into the Champions League, why doesn't he get it? But I don't know if they've had conversations before to say, do we want a bigger name? Well, sometimes you need to be careful with bigger names, because it's not always bigger names that come in and do well. Where Michael Carrick, he's got a tune out of the players. You heard him, Buemo, come out, and Amad Diallo, and say that we want him, to stay as manager. So when players are coming out and saying that, that means you got the players on board. So, yeah, he'll have to have a talk with the hierarchy in the summer. But I, for one, hope he does get the job.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you mentioned about the players. I wonder whether Casemiro thinks I've jumped too soon. You know, but
bigger names, because it's not always bigger names that come in and do well. Where Michael Carrick, he's got a tune out of the players. You heard him, Buemo, come out, and Amad Diallo, and say that we want him, to stay as manager. So when players are coming out and saying that, that means you got the players on board. So, yeah, he'll have to have a talk with the hierarchy in the summer. But I, for one, hope he does get the job.
It's interesting, isn't it? Because you mentioned about the players. I wonder whether Casemiro thinks I've jumped too soon. You know, but he will be leaving. They are reportedly monitoring Real Madrid's Tchouaméni. How do you think he'd fit in at Old Trafford? Well,
no, Tchouaméni's a good player, to be fair. He's very good. He's a French international. He sits there, keeps it simple. Listen, Casemiro's had an outstanding season and won loads of stuff at Real Madrid, where Tchouaméni may be coming from. So, yeah, he's a good player. And you hear a lot of Real Madrid, they're interested in the likes of maybe Enzo Fernandez and Rodri and players like that. And that is obviously Tchouaméni's position. But, yeah, I think Tchouaméni would be a good one. They're linked to loads, though. They want Anderson, they're linked to Tonali, they're linked to Adam Wharton. So you can see where they're shopping at the moment. They need midfielders, if not one, maybe two, because Casemiro's going, and you've only got Kobbie Mainoo. No disrespect to Ugarte, but I don't think it's really worked out for him at Man United. So the way they want to play, you need more than one or two. You need probably two world-class midfielders. But I like Kobbie Mainoo. I think he's been outstanding. So that is where they're looking at the moment. But yeah, Tchouaméni would be a good signing.
Somebody that also has been outstanding, Bruno Fernandes. I mean, he's just close. I think 2 off that record of assists. Do you think he'll do it?
Yeah, I think he'll do it. Yeah. He's a ridiculous player, Bruno Fernandes. And it made me laugh when people questioned him when he's the captain and he gets frustrated. He gets frustrated because sometimes players are not on his wave level and he gets frustrated. But it doesn't mean like it means he's disappointed, but it doesn't mean he doesn't care or anything, or he's petulant and stuff like that. He's just a wonderful player who 9 times out of 10, that's a great ball to Casemiro as against Leeds. He just 9 times out of 10 picks the right pass. I just think he's a fantastic player. If Man United were probably going for the title, he'd probably get Player of the Year. That's the season that he's had. He's been outstanding. What a player he is. And from Man United, I'm tying him down to a long deal because he's got everything. He is probably one of the best 10s there is in the Premier League now. I know we talk about Cherki and he's been outstanding, but no one got Bruno Fernandes' numbers. And his numbers this season have been frightening for Man United. In a team earlier on in the season that was struggling big time.
Yeah, like I say, 2 off that record of 20 assists. Paul Pogba's given him high praise indeed. He said that if he'd be in the conversation for the Ballon d'Or if he were playing at Manchester City. Do you agree with that, or do you think that's a step too far?
Why not? Of course he would be. He's a top player. His numbers don't lie. Yeah, if he was at...
Right, let's turn our attention back to Manchester United now. We heard from Michael Carrick, didn't we, in the last hour as they prepare to face Brentford on the Monday Night Football. Let's cross to Daniel Kahn now, who was sat in his press conference asking those all-important questions. Good to see you, Dan. Thanks for joining us. We saw a makeshift centre-back partnership, didn't we, from United when they faced Chelsea. Will Carrick be boosted by any returns, though, in defence?
Yeah, good evening, Vicky. Good evening, Clinton. Absolutely. I think got to watch training a little bit this morning here at Carrington. Also heard from Michael Carrick himself this evening ahead of Monday Night Football against Brentford. The good news is he'll get Harry Maguire back. He's available after suspension. And I think we saw maybe not as much in that game at Stamford Bridge last weekend, but the Monday before that, their defeat to Leeds at Old Trafford, really the big miss Harry Maguire was in both boxes. Really, I think the feeling was with him on the pitch, maybe they would have had a much better performance in that game in particular. But look, he's back available. Not as good news with Lenny Yoro, though. He wasn't in training this morning. Michael Carrick telling us that he's hopeful, though, he could be involved on Monday night. Lisandro Martinez, though, he is still out. He's going to miss another 2 games with his suspension after his red card against Bournemouth. So I think very unlikely we'll see Nuasar Mazraoui partner Aiden Heaven in that defence that was victorious at Stamford Bridge last weekend. But look, I think the big question is, will it be Aiden Heaven next to Harry Maguire, or will Lenny Yoro be fit enough to come back into the team? Based on Saturday's performance, you'd say Aiden Heaven has to stay in that team based off what was so impressive, his first start since the beginning of January.
Yeah, and Dan, there's been loads of speculation over Carrick's future at the club, but is this similar to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer's time at Old Trafford, do you think?
Look, I think it's been a narrative, Vicky. I think that's fair to say since Michael Carrick was appointed. The whole discussion around him staying beyond the end of this season, there has been a strand to this tale about maybe making comparisons to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer in that caretaker period until the end of the season that became permanent after that international break. Now, look, I think it's become a bit more pertinent because after he was given a full-time contract, a multi-year contract after that initial international break, results really tailed off. And I think people were saying, really, could that happen under Michael Carrick after a similar type break? Could that new manager, new head coach bounce wear off a little bit? And it's something we haven't really asked Michael Carrick himself. We've seen former players, journalists all talk about it, but I thought I'd ask Michael Carrick himself what he has thought about those comparisons.
I thought we did a lot of good things, really, and became close, and in the end obviously it changed and it went a different direction. That's football. I think comparisons you could compare to all sorts of different situations and managers and coaches and teams over the years. It just depends on what you want to choose to compare, but it's irrelevant, really. It really is. And that's not a negative or a positive. It doesn't really have any link at all. I think we're a different team now, irrespective of me, who's in charge. It's a different team. It's a different time. So I don't really think comparisons literally make any difference at all.
Well, so to answer your question, Vicky, you heard from Michael Carrick there say it's absolutely irrelevant, any comparisons to Ole Gunnar Solskjaer. But look, focuses on Monday night against Brentford. Manchester United need 6 points ultimately to mathematically qualify for Champions League football for next season, but they do look in a pretty favourable position. Monday night, though, it's going to be a pretty challenging test when you compare the last time these two sides met in the Premier League, September under Ruben Amorim, and Manchester United got dismantled by Igor Thiago, Jordan Henderson and co. So can Manchester United maybe put that result to bed and also cement their chances for Champions League football next season? Still feels a little bit away, but Monday Night Football, Manchester United against Brentford.
Yes, thank you for the promo. Thank you very much, Dan. OK, look.